As the White House welcomes turkeys to the nation's capital and tries to avoid becoming a lame duck presidency. After a series of setbacks that have raised questions of whether the president may be approaching the limits of his influence over his own party. Right now, the president's standing with the public is in perilous political territory, with an approval rating that is significantly underwater across recent major polls. And his message on affordability has run afoul of voters, even as he again lauded the economy during the White House turkey pardon earlier today.
I want to wish all Americans a very, very happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of the year, and our country is doing really well economically like we've never done before. And this Thanksgiving, we're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again.
But a recent CBS poll finding that a sizable majority of Americans say his assessment of the economy doesn't reflect reality and that he's painting too rosy a picture. And since March, approval of his handling of the economy has steadily eroded by 15 points to just 36. It comes as a major factor in the affordability equation for many Americans. The cost of health care is set to be front in Washington this holiday season, with Affordable Care Act subsidies expiring at the end of the year and premiums set to skyrocket for millions. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent teased an announcement on the issue this week, but yesterday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt largely dodged the issue and offered no timeline.
I will tell you that healthcare is a topic of discussion that's happening very frequently and robustly inside the West Wing right now. The president's very much involved in these talks, and he's very focused on unveiling a healthcare proposal that will fix the system and will bring down costs for consumers. As for the details of those discussions, I'll let the president speak for himself.
Now, it comes at a time where some in his party have flexed their independence from the president. Last week, a bill to force the release of the Epstein files, something the administration had resisted, passed nearly unanimously. And a longtime ally of the president, Marjorie Taylor Greene, announced her resignation from Congress after weeks of criticism of the president for what she sees as an abandonment of some key tenets of the MAGA movement. Meanwhile, amid all of it, prosecutions of two of the president's perceived political foes have unraveled. Joining me now to talk about all of this, our NBC News team at the White House. And that starts with Julie Sirkin. John Allen is talking to voters in the swing state of Michigan. And Sahil Kapur is on Capitol Hill to break it all down. We also have Steve Kornacki at the big board. All right, Julie, let's start with you on the North Lawn. It's not usual content for turkey pardons. There was a lot of talk of the president and his achievements and things along those lines. How does the White House feel right now about its current situation and where things are in terms of the economy?
Ryan, it might not be usual for other presidents at other turkey pardons, but it is pretty typical in terms of the language and the rhetoric that we hear from President Trump at various events, from turkey pardons to other more serious events happening with world leaders. And on the economy, I was here over the weekend as well, and it was very clear that the president has tried to put that top of mind. Despite that polling that you see, he continues to try to elevate that issue, saying that his administration is doing a great job on the economy. All the officials that were out on the Sunday shows this weekend making a point to tout that too, the affordability issue that he knows bodes so well from Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayor-elect, who he had in his Oval Office on Friday. That is definitely something that he continues to try to highlight. I will tell you, though, he did go off topic, not just on the economy during this turkey pardon, but also talking about his political rivals, making a joke that he wouldn't have pardoned Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, even saying I shouldn't say that. Also talking about other Democratic rivals, including the past president, Joe Biden, saying that he used an auto pen, essentially, to pardon the turkeys, which is something I know you have covered extensively as well. So making light of some of those topics, but following a series of setbacks, including with Democrats in Congress, whom he had some tough words, some may say death threats, to share for them after a group of them shared a video essentially urging some military service members to ignore illegal orders, something that is currently in a back and forth with his FBI and those members on Capitol Hill.
Right. But Julie's got to do something on health care, right? I mean, we are coming up to a deadline here at the end of the month. His own Treasury Secretary said that there was an announcement coming this week, but that appears to be not the case. Where do things stand right now in terms of the White House's approach to health care?
That's the million-dollar question, because we know during the government shutdown, of course, this was the biggest point from the Democratic side of the aisle in trying to hold out in reopening the government, because they wanted Republicans in leadership by the president, which never fully happened and materialized, to promise to extend these expiring Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies. We know that the president directed some members on Capitol Hill to start working on a plan. Senator Bill Cassidy has one. Senator Rick Scott released one of his own last week. But we also know that the president might have different feelings about these subsidies than Republicans, trying to message on the Hill that this is something that Democrats did. The fact that they are expiring and that the Affordable Care Act needed to be subsidized is the fault of the Democrats. That's a tough message for any party to win an election, as we've seen over the years, and certainly not something in terms of reality that the president wants to be carrying into the midterm elections. So the president maybe at one point tried to form up some contours of a plan that would extend those subsidies, in addition to perhaps providing people who are on the Affordable Care Act some flexibility in using their health savings accounts. But just extending the subsidies is not going to fly with conservatives on the Hill. And I think that's where you saw some of the pushback in the hours after this was initially reported.
Okay, Julie, thank you. Let's move to Sahil to get the view from Capitol Hill. Obviously, health care is a major issue right now. Could it test the limits of the president's influence over his own party in a second term if he goes to them and says, guys, we need to extend these subsidies in some form or fashion? Could they just
Yeah, it absolutely will test the president's influence, Ryan. The first question is whether he actually releases a plan and is willing to fight for it here on Capitol Hill, because whatever he does in that space, he's going to alienate some members of his party, because Republicans are divided between those who want the Affordable Care Act funds to end entirely at the end of this year, mostly conservative members, and those who want some form of extension of those funds, who are mostly swing district members, not uncoincidentally because they have to win re-election while defending these premium hikes on their watch. So the question becomes, can the president do what he did earlier this year with conservatives on Capitol Hill? If he does want an ACA funding extension, he was very adept at bending them to his will on things like, passing government funding bills, appropriations bills, CRs, the big, beautiful bill, even the debt limit increase, which many House Republicans had never voted for before. He was able to do that. Of course, he raised the question of the Epstein files, which is a major defeat for the president. If he does put out a health care plan, it will test whether the situation of the Epstein files, when Republicans were willing to buck him, was a one-off, or whether that's the start of a trend where the president is losing his juice. Nevertheless, his own pollsters, President Trump's own pollsters, have urged him to do something about extending the ACA funds, and warning him that it will be his party that gets blamed if they don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of frontline Republicans that are concerned about that. Sahil, stand by. We're going to come back to you in a second. But, John, let's go and get the view of what things look like in Michigan. This is obviously a key swing state. How much has affordability dominated the conversations that you're having with voters?
It's everything, Ryan. I'm here in Lansing. Sahil was just talking about politically competitive swing districts. There's one that surrounds Lansing. There's another one around where I was yesterday in Warren, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit that President Trump in April held his 100-day celebration, where he told folks that prices were going to come down. But whether people are Republicans or Democrats or independents, they told me that prices are through the roof. And I think you can listen to some of that.
You don't have to be, deep into politics or deep into whatever to understand that things have gone up in price quite a bit.
I thought gas prices would be a lot lower than what they are now, but they seem to be lagging.
Why did you think they'd be lower?
Well, with all the drill, baby, drill rhetoric, I thought that, maybe they'd be lower by now.
I think the Biden administration had a good economy, and I think the Trump administration inherited that, and we are still seeing that. A year from now, I don't know.
Well, I think things are still a little high, but we're still working on Biden's bull crap, And next year, when the beautiful bill goes into effect, things are going to get back more to normal, I believe.
And Ryan, as you can hear, people are frustrated, particularly with prices. They go to grocery stores, whether they're talking about beef or they're talking, one gentleman talked to us about the cost of dog food, $300 a month for his 3 dogs. That's something they're very focused on. Also, interest rates for folks who are paying for mortgages or on car notes. That is the topic of discussion. There will be plenty of time for them to focus on the race for the House, and here in Michigan also a big Senate race. But right now they're just upset with how much things cost.
It's interesting, though, John, that last fellow you talked to clearly seems to be a supporter of the president, almost spouting his talking points, but he did concede that prices are too high. I mean, how much longer do you think even the president's most diehard supporters are willing to give him before things turn around?
Well, it's interesting, Ryan. I think the folks who are the diehard supporters are going to stay there. I think the problem for Republicans in Congress is that for some who are not diehards, and even maybe for some who are diehards, they may stay home, or even some, at least in that sort of independent swing group, might move over to a Democrat. Talked to one guy today in Williamston, Michigan, who said that he's thinking about maybe just in the vote for Congress, voting for new blood next time. That's the kind of thing that the National Republican Congressional Committee and those swing district Republicans are going to try to spend the next year tamping down. Obviously, they're hoping for, a better turn in the economy.
Yeah. OK. John, thanks for that. Thanks for that reporting from the ground. Sahil, let's go back to you and talk about another key group that's probably going to play as big a role as any in the 2026 midterms. They were a central focus of President Trump's success in 2024. That's Latino voters. We're learning more and more that they're not a monolith. They're also not just going to follow one party orthodoxy indefinitely. What are you learning about Latino voters?
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. This was during my trip to Nevada last week. And the single biggest thing I heard from Latino voters there are that prices are still way too high of food, of groceries, of housing. Apparently, car insurance premiums are soaring and going through the roof in Nevada. Remember, Latinos are about 1/5 of the Nevada electorate. In 2020, Donald Trump lost that group by 26 points. In 2024, he won them by 2 points. It's a stunning turnaround based primarily on the fact that Latino voters trusted Donald over the Democrats and Kamala Harris to make the economy better in 2024 after several years of inflation. I spoke to one Hispanic business owner, brewery in North Las Vegas, who said that tariffs by the president are hurting his business. They've had to scale back canning of their own beers because the material, the cost of those materials have been so high, which hurts distribution. They also see fewer customers in the brewery. In addition to that, there are immigration fears. I talked to the leader of the local Latin Chamber of Commerce, who said that some of his restaurant owners are worried that the chilling climate around deportation and raids are negatively impacting, customers coming in. Now, the one bright spot, Ryan, is that Vegas still prides itself on being the entertainment and sports capital of the world. They hosted the Super Bowl last year, which brought in about $1 billion. They hosted the Formula One race this past weekend, which is expected to bring in almost that much. It's everything in between those rare events where the Nevada economy is really struggling.
And there's a recent, Sahil, thank you for that report. Appreciate the trip out to Las Vegas.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.